The Shepnaz podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz podcast. Here at Shepherd Church, everything we do is to connect our community in a meaningful relationship with Christ. I'm Pastor Rob. I'm your host today. And with us today, we have Mr. Mike Fluhart and Courtney Coates. As most of you know, Mike is our school principal, and today we're introducing Courtney Coates as our new assistant director for our Little Lambs Children's Center. So Mike and Courtney, welcome today.
Oh, welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Good deal. Mike, I'll give you the opportunity to introduce Courtney. She kind of reports to you, and you're responsible for finding her. So tell us a little bit about Courtney.
Yeah, it was definitely an exciting find, and even in the first couple of weeks here, it's been a blessing. We went on an exhaustive search, interviewed, I don't know.
A lot? Yeah.
8 or 10, and the Lord's brought us Courtney. Courtney Coates comes to us with a wealth of experience, especially we're working with students with some struggles. And I think that'll be a dimension that we'll add to our child care that we haven't been able to offer before.
Awesome. Well, the rest of the staff can benefit from that too, because we all have problems.
Even myself.
Awesome. Great. Well, Courtney, it's great to meet you. I'd love to let the people who are listening just get to know you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I am actually the baby of 6 children. And with that, I have always been eager to meet my sibling competition. So lo and behold, it would be against my oldest sister. So we both really indulge in education, which from there I have had myself a lot of time in school, from natural science degrees to culinary degree to assistants in administration. I've just been all over the board.
Yeah. So you just finished up a degree as well, right?
Yes.
What was that?
Ohio Christian University. I finished my pastoral care and counseling and my master's.
Great. Very good. Yeah. Well, you'll need that around here because we all got stuff. So great. Very good. So tell us a little bit about some of the jobs you've had in the past.
So I have always been with children. So my first job, even though it was in retail, from there it moved to daycare and children's care. Once I had my son, and he's my Huntington baby, so I worked at Huntington, which gave me a multitude of information with customers, and I thought, wow, the Lord has me watching over people's 2 most important things, their children and their finances. Yeah,
it's true. That's good. That's good insight.
Yeah, so it helped me understand people's mindsets and how to show a lot more compassion, especially in those 2 areas. I thought I was done with child care and being with the youth, but I ended up graduating my psychology degree first from Ohio Christian, and then went into care for autistic children, to children's services, and working a lot hands-on with the community. And at that time, I ended up using my volunteer work from First Church of God at the youth department as then becoming a youth director and pastor at a small church called New Wine. And there I was on a worship team, just a lot of just all over the place. But once, COVID hit, it kind of slowed them down, and the Lord moved me from serving there. However, I was still in the community. So I was with the Bear Foundation, who was also a Christian foundation working with children in foster care, adoptions, and with behaviorals. So after that season, I came here.
Yeah, great. Well, we're glad that you did. I bet you have some very interesting stories working with children's services. I'm sure you probably can't tell them either, but probably had some really interesting things and insights into people and families. And
it was. And I actually did not mind going out to the homes and working with families and spending time with them and helping them. So
yeah, great. Well, tell us a little bit about your testimony, like how you came to know the Lord and all that's involved with that.
So my family has a large participation, at First Church of God under Bishop Clark. So I remember at being like 6 or 7, I was always crying in the the pew, and I never understood it. It was like the song would be sung, and I would just start crying. And one of the women behind me touched my shoulder and was like, "Don't get up and move. That's the Holy Spirit." And we had some friends that actually invited myself and my sister closer to my age to Bible study. So on Wednesdays we would go to Bible studies, but it was at a Jewish Messianic temple.
Oh, wow.
So sitting there in my group, I think I was the youngest one in there, like always. And I remember the guy was standing there, and I was sitting on the floor, and he said, "Does anybody want to give their life to Christ?" And I just felt my hand just slide up. It was like involuntary. It was just, and I remember just crying, and I understood something had changed, even at 9. So I have always been in, part of a church, and actually indulging and learning about the Word of God.
Yeah.
So, and the person that I am, I will ask questions. Not trying to be combative. I just want to know.
Sure.
So I have always been like seeking information, and then it's just gotten deeper. And this last 2 years, pruning has been real. Moving from, different areas of where Christ wants me, learning that he says, "Okay, you call me a provider, let me show you how I provide."
Yeah.
Like being completely dependent on him, and allowing him to actually be the Lord of my life and understanding what it means to submit to his perfect will. So that has been my last 2 journeys. However, in the midst of it looking like a wilderness, we know that he was there by fire and by pillar. And he has shown himself very strong in these 2 seasons. So the level of trust for myself in Christ has blossomed significantly in the last 2 years, which even with this position, because I saw it on Indeed and I just scrolled past it. I went on it again and it was right back there. So I said, let me click here. And
Yep. Great. Well, it's cool how the Lord takes us on those journeys and puts us in positions where we can either rely on ourselves and fail, or rely on him and he comes through, and then it deepens our faith. So that's cool. Yep.
Yeah. So even with TikTok, I am not a big fan of social media. I absolutely do not like it. And I struggled with starting one, and I did my first little video about serving God and what it actually means to wait on him. And in less than 15 minutes, it had over 800 views. Wow. And I was like, okay, so I guess this was real.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's cool. Awesome. Very good. Well, tell us this. What are you most excited about being the Little Lambs director, or maybe for this coming school year? I mean, it's a whole new position. I know you're still learning everything, all the ins and outs and everything, but what are you excited about?
I'm excited in a couple of different areas. Restoring, the joy of working with children with the staff that's already here. I think more importantly is educating the little ones and even ourselves more about Christ. Yeah. And who he is. Yeah. And how education is so tied up in him, because we know he says, "My people perish for the lack of knowledge." Yeah. And seek wisdom. So to be able to walk in the ministry of children and then also teach Christ, and it is the priority. I'm excited about that. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said that, because I think it's important. We call it a children's center daycare. It gets called a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, we're caring for kids and instilling biblical values into their life, even from birth all the way through the preschool kind of thing. And then, of course, Mike picks up from kindergarten all the way on as well. So from all the way from birth through 7th grade right now, and then, of course, further in the ministry of the church. So, yeah, that's exciting. So we appreciate it. Well, we're excited to have you on board. Me too. Yeah, very good. Excited. Awesome. Great. Well, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk to Mr. Fluhart.
Are you looking for a fun and meaningful way to spend your Friday night? Then join the Shepherd family at Huntington Park for Faith Night on Friday, September 8th. Watch the Columbus Clippers take on the Scranton Rail Riders. Don't miss this opportunity to celebrate your faith and cheer on your team. Tickets are $10 per person. To order your tickets, visit shepnaz.org/Clippers.
All right, well, we're back. Thanks for sticking around. And we have Mr. Fluhart with us and Courtney Coates. Courtney is our new Little Lambs assistant director, and we got to know her a little bit. And school is going to be starting this week for Shepherd Christian School. If you're listening to this, school already has started for Gahanna Jefferson. But Mike, tell us, what are you excited about this year, getting ready to start school?
Oh, it is going to be an exciting season. And going back, I know earlier Courtney talked about the Lord, His involvement, and His timing. It's as I take a step back and look at what the Lord's done and the staff that He's brought here. I mean, we've got a couple different pastors, kids, families. It's just a neat body. And I think that with a renewed emphasis on our focus on the Lord is going to pay unbelievable dividends. We've got a number of initiatives. We're adding 7th grade, as you said earlier. And we've been rolling the pre-K into the more into the school mix when it comes to curriculum, so that focus at the younger level when we're building a foundation is now a pre-K through 2nd grade. That the reading curriculum, it flows. And then, as I said, we're adding 7th grades with an intent to add 8th grade the following year. We brought Spanish back into the school. We're now, I just came from a meeting that looks like we'll have record numbers for enrollment, somewhere in the 240s, 250s.
Wow.
We don't know where we're going to put them and if we got enough desks, but we're working through that, but that's exciting.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, 9 years ago, we had 67 kids.
Wow.
And today, you said 240 to 250. So
somewhere in there.
And, it's exciting.
Well, that's very exciting. But the I'm more excited about the focus. Like we took a step back early summer, or actually in the spring, and looked at where we were math wise. And most schools would love our math scores on the different assessments, but we weren't happy because we wanted to strive for excellence. So we spent a fair amount of time over the summer, and I've bought a new curriculum and even reformatted how we're going to teach it. There will be a couple different classes. We'll actually have 2 math teachers in there at the same time to break a small group down of students down into a smaller group.
That's a class I would have needed to be in.
That's it.
I would have needed 2 teachers in my math class.
I hear you.
I'd have done better.
I still wouldn't have. But we're doing that, but just because we want to ensure that every child has that individual instruction they need to be successful. We're also have a main emphasis of shifting, like our specials. One of our specials used to be called technology. Well, technology is how just to work the piece of equipment, whether it be a laptop or some other technical. Well, we want to get away from that, and we've retitled it Innovation. The kids now know how to turn on the computer. They don't need to know that. They need to know how to take that tool and be creative and be a problem solver,
use it for
be a
good.
deep thinker. And do it for good. We've also brought in a new social studies curriculum, and we did that on purpose. Not that our older curriculum was there anything specifically wrong with it, but I'm a firm believer that Satan has attacked us repeatedly through our textbooks, and I can show example after example. Well, social studies is one of those areas that in recent years, some influences that I'm not comfortable with as a Christian school administrator that I'm going to bring into my school, and it was being brought in through the secular social studies textbooks. That being said, we took a step back. We said, okay, let's strictly, when it comes to social studies, have Christian curriculum. And so we've invested heavily, and we have a new social studies curriculum because we want to ensure that what's being put out in the classroom, and all our teachers are believers and strong in their faith, But I don't want curriculum that I ever have to second guess that it's not in line with what the Lord wants us to be teaching.
Yeah.
Because we got to protect our kids.
Yep.
And regrettably, in our schools, I don't know that we're in a generation that we're truly protecting their kids to be world changers with a biblical worldview.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ensure the curriculum we're using is just that.
Yeah. Yep. That's very important. I appreciate your commitment to making sure our kids are learning from a biblical perspective, and that's really important. I mean, it's a Christian school. We should do that. And, we have this year, you added more staff than we typically add. Usually we don't have a turnover, and this year we added some, and so we had a little turnover and just added some because some people moved. And I appreciate also your desire to not just fill a hole with somebody, but I mean, we went a ways in making sure we find the right person. And yesterday you had the opportunity, you had your all staff meeting. I got the opportunity to meet them, and pretty cool how it all worked out. One thing I met, I can't remember her name. I should remember. I'm sorry. But she's the new outdoor ed teacher.
Yeah,
and I asked Tasha, and I
Williams.
said, well, what were you doing before you came here? And she goes, well, I was on the Appalachian Trail. I just got off. So I'm like, well, that's a pretty good deal for the outdoor ed teacher. And so she's just come fresh off the Appalachian Trail, and she should have something to say about outdoor ed, I would think.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you got a great staff and great teachers, and looking forward to a great year.
It is. What's exciting about her, if I can interject, but it's an example of all the staff that the Lord's brought to us, and He truly did, is she actually came in to interview for the art teacher part-time position, and because she's got her degree from Columbus Art and Design, she has a master's, and she's got that background. And we're giving a tour, and she goes, the Appalachian Trail story. And she was a young lady walking by herself on the trip. She met different hikers, but she had done over 400 miles of the Appalachian Trail.
Wow.
And I said, well, what would you know about outdoor education? And so we got talking, and I think she's typical of what the Lord's brought.
Yeah.
But it's going to bring something very special to the classroom.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm excited. I knew when I came to do this that I wasn't going to have to ask very many questions, because I could just ask the question, what are you excited about, Mike? And you would talk the rest of the time.
Talk too much.
So, so I appreciate that. So, well, thank you guys for being here today. We're excited about what God's doing and the teams that both of you have and the job you're doing. If you'd like more information about anything we talked about today, or you want to contact us for any other reason, you can reach out to us by emailing podcast@shepnaz.org. Keep up to date on our social media pages. You'll find the church on Facebook, Instagram. You can tell I'm reading this, right? Instagram and YouTube. Also, you can find a ton of resources on the church website at shepnaz.org. For Mike and Courtney, I'm Rob. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.